Hello and welcome to the March 24th edition of the Bub Report. I am Rion Charles. This week, we sit with a member of civil society with intimate knowledge of physical planning regulations and a vendor given notice to vacate spaces she and other food entrepreneurs are occupying along the stretch of road adjacent to Grenada's main port, popularly referred to as the Port Highway. At the start of the year, the authority signaled its intention to proceed with this initiative.
There will be some pushback. We expect that. It's people's bread and butter. But we have to look at the greater good for our community. We want people to start thinking more creatively. Every business venture doesn't have to be on the side of the road. Are serious. And the media was invited here not to make a laughing stock of violators, but to just send a powerful message for the persons who may intend to set up such a structure without plan and permission, or for those who have such structures existing and they know it's in violation, but they're just hoping that they won't be on the list or that things might change. It's not going to change. We're coming. We're going to be moving these things. They will be stored securely. You will have a short amount of time to take it from where it's at. We're not about destroying people's things unless it's garbage, of course.
In a previous appearance on the Bub Report, Minister with responsibility for mobilization, implementation, and transformation, Andy Williams, framed this demolition drive in the context of his administration's Visual Transformation Initiative.
So when I'm making these statements, I'm not just making these statements because I want to make these statements. It's actually happening, and it's something that we have to deal with. We have to. And I'm saying, if the previous administration did not have the guts to deal with it, we will deal with it. Because if we're talking about climate resilience and all these things, we cannot be talking about these things and turning a blind eye to that. And this is our stance on it. And we as a government will ensure that we have the guts to deal with these things, to make Grenada a better place, a cleaner place.
Concerning the extrication of vendors from the Port Highway area, Williams also promised the small business entrepreneurs a new building that will serve as a point of relocation for their businesses once they are removed from the current location.
One of the initiatives that we have embarked on is cleaning up the Port Highway. Right? We have a plan in place, both of us. We sat down and we put together a plan where opposite the pan house, we can construct a building that can house the people who are vending right now on the side of the road, right? And it will be a 2-story building, and we can have people who sell food and stuff. Because right now, they are selling food with no toilet facilities, no water, and that is dangerous, right? So, and again, we admire them because they are not begging, they are trying to earn a living. So as a government, it is our duty to see what we can do to assist them. And so we want to do a 2-story building that can house them, and we can free up the side of the road for parking.
But first, the excitement is steadily building in Grenada and the Caribbean as the creme de la creme of junior track and field descends on the island for the highly anticipated 2024 CARIFTA Games next weekend. Since its inception in 1972, the Games have fostered regional integration, friendship, and excellence among the participating countries. Hosting the CARIFTA Games is not merely about building a cadre of runners, jumpers, throwers, and vaulters, and motivating and inspiring the next crop of athletes to excel and represent their nation with pride. It is about bringing significant social and economic benefits to Grenada. This marks the third time that Grenada has been entrusted with hosting the event, having previously welcomed athletes and fans in 2000 and again in 2016. We welcome our guests: Sharon Simmons, Port Highway vendor; Davidson Ned, civil society advocate; Conrad Francis, president of the CARIFTA Games Local Organizing Committee; and Aaron Moses, deputy chairman of the CARIFTA Local Organizing Committee. Here is our host, Dr. Kellan Bub, with this week's editorial titled Questioning the PDA's Ability to Enforce Its Own Rules. We thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and a pleasant good morning to all of you, and welcome to yet another edition of the Bub Report. I'm your humble host, Dr. Kellen Bub. If you are just joining us, please remember to like and share this live stream, as of course, Grenada excitedly gears up for this year's hosting of the 51st annual CARIFTA Games next weekend. Of course, for those of you in Grenada, and of course, for those of you in the diaspora who may want to visit Grenada, I'm sure JetBlue has some cheap flights that can get you in for a wonderful Easter weekend filled with a series of exciting athletic activities. Now, in the last few weeks, the Planning and Development Authority has held true to its promise of enforcing the law with respect to unauthorized vending and other ancillary activities across the country. Sidewalk vending, while not a new feature of the landscape of the country, has certainly taken on a life of its own, in the same way residential squatting became commonplace in some communities across the country. These long-standing practices do leave much to be desired with respect to lack of proper zoning and planning by the competent authorities tasked with ensuring that buildings are not only constructed to code, but that they are also in designated zones. The reality of the contemporary expansion of Grenada is such that the physical planning unit, now called the Planning and Development Authority, has had its hands tied by the whims and fancies of elected politicians and their constituents. In years past, residents of certain communities who squat on crown lands or who have erected unauthorized vending booths across the country will scoff at the planning authority's technocrats who attempted to enforce laws of removal by brandishing approval letters from the elected parliamentarians who gave them permission to behave in this way in the first place. Now, while the new administration is adopting a zero-tolerance approach to enforcing the removal of sidewalk vending, we do ask whether or not its ethos applies only to working-class Grenadian vendors who are earning an honest living, or whether it also applies to building contractors, developers, and friends of the administration. We recall the all too recent history of Grenada land actors versus the PDA, in which the land actors challenged the lack of transparency at the authority with respect to approvals given to the developers at the Lassages Range Developments, which incidentally opened yesterday, as well as the Mount Hartman Group Limited and the Liverer developers. Their judicial challenge demanded that the planning authority make public the planning permission and conditions for these projects, including plans and the environmental and social impact assessments of these projects in respect to how it would affect the ecology of those areas. In addition to the violations, the potential violations that these developers may have committed in the process. Land actors contended at the time that the physical planning unit ceded ground to the developers in a way that was antithetical to the Physical Planning and Development Control Authority Act of 2016. We also have some final questions for the PDA. Surely I was hoping that the Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Leslie, would have been on the Bub Report today, but she canceled a couple hours before we were supposed to schedule a pre-recorded interview. Now, these are the questions. Can you account for the short tenure of former CEO Kelly Bartholomew? When was the Physical Planning Board gazetted? To what extent are board members dictating the day-to-day operations of the authority? And what about enforcing beach access? The newly constructed beach house, a wonderful facility indeed, in the south of the island, may not be following these regulations. Just ask them about issues related to the beach and the high water mark as the regulations stipulate in the Act. But these are the questions for now. Of course, we are going to segue into the first segment of the program by speaking with two members of the local organizing committee for the 2024 CARIFTA Games. We have Mr. Conrad Francis and Mr. Aaron Moses. Gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Bub Report. Mr. Moses, I believe this is your very first time appearing on the program. So welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. As you rightly said, it's the first time. You have been missing in action. You don't check your old friends anymore.
Well, we are going to fix that, or should I say, you have been missing in action. But I might be having you back here, sir, because you also ambassador to CARICOM, and on that front, there are a lot of issues in respect of regional integration that we have to talk about. Now, we are 1 week away, gentlemen, into CARIFTA. How are last-minute preparations going?
Well, I see the opening back to President of the Grenada Athletic Association, and that's a correction we need to make. Vida Bolo is the chair of the LOC. I'm the deputy.
Vida is the chair. You are the deputy.
Current president of the Grenada Athletic Association.
All right. Thank you for that correction. Noted on our end. Mr. Francis, final preparations. You are in the final stretch.
Yeah. Good morning, and pleasant good morning also to all the listeners. Yeah, that's a very easy question to answer. For the fact that now we are putting the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
All the hard work has been done already, and we are now polishing up things. It has been a long journey, and for this final stretch, we want to ensure that all the T's have been dotted, all the I's have been dotted, and it will be a very furious last week, but we think that we are on top of things, and we will get the job done.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. Moses, any setbacks or concerns that you have in respect of where we are as a local organizing committee? Are there any kinks that you need to sort out?
Well, there are always challenges. As Conrad indicated, a lot of the hard work has gone in, and we're in the last stages. The challenge here is to make sure that all the groups, all the facilities, the programs, the plans, the procedures are implemented. There have been a lot of rehearsals, but the proof of the pudding is in the actual delivery.
Yes.
And so there are always some kinks to be ironed out. For instance, as you're aware, we refurbished the main track, and we had some challenges. So the warm-up track, as we speak, is being completed at this point in time. It will be completed definitely before the middle of the week. But these are the little things, that we are focusing on. But generally, all is in place. Our key officials have started arriving. As you know, we have organizational delegates, technical delegates that are from the NACAC family who are here to oversee and assist and to ensure that we conform to all the standards and the procedures. Sportsmax personnel have begun to arrive. They have the broadcast rights for the program. So they're focusing and making sure all the equipment are in place, and everything is ready and tested prior to the start of the games on Saturday.
Now, this is Grenada's third game hosting of the CARIFTA Games within a short space of time. I mean, I'm looking at the trajectory within which Grenada has hosted CARIFTA in the past. So clearly, Grenada is a hot button destination within the region to host the games. What would be special about this particular occasion, and what lessons have we learned from previous hosting of the games that enables this one to be much more successful, gentlemen? Conrad, start with you.
You said it correctly, that it is a very short space of time, But I also want to remind you that after hosting the 2000 games, the reviews were very excellent. So much so that we were supposed to host the 2005 games, but albeit because of the hurricane, they had to move it to Trinidad. Games was hosted in Tobago. But then we rebounded and we hosted in 2016. Again, the reviews were excellent because at that time the stadium was rebuilt, so it was a spanking new facility. And people always look forward. Our performance at that games was so much so that people look forward eagerly to come to Grenada again to host the games. So when we bid for the games last year, as you would remember, that the results of that bid was overwhelming. It went to a vote and it was overwhelming. So people have high expectations of Grenada, expectations. And not only because of our facility, the facility is one of the best in the region. It is a bit small, it only holds around 7,000 people, but it is good enough to host CARIFTA Games. And in fact, we have an audience, spectatorship, that is probably only on par to that of Jamaica and Barbados.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. What I said, Barbados it's Bahamas, really, actually.
The Bahamas, or maybe even Jamaica. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Jamaica is about boys and girls champs and so on. And to be honest, I think we have a better spectatorship at CARIFTA Games than Jamaica. So people have that expectations of us. Apart from, I said, the spanking facility, our people are very hospitable. They look forward to coming to Grenada. They love the spices. They love everything. So it's not all about in the stadium, but it's also the activities that happen outside of the stadium. So if I may venture to say that we are endeavoring to bring a new life into the CARIFTA Games, right? So we have invested in new technologies for the games. So, for example, we will have our field links. That's the measuring devices that are used to measure the throws and so on. No longer tape lines will be used. We have upgraded our photo finish system. We have invested in a technology called VeriLinks, whereby the long jumpers, when they jump, you can identify the no jumps very easily through cameras. We will also be using a combination of the regular boards and digital boards. It's the in thing now, where you use digital boards to project your sponsors, advertise them, and so on. And we're trying to be as paperless as much as possible. So you'll find that coaches and athletes will get the results on the phone. They'll get the start list, right? We are making sure that we have people can also view the games, or our VIPs and so on could view it on television screens. Even the athletes in the warm-up area will be able to view it whilst they are there on the television screens. So we are putting in a lot when it comes to the technological aspect of the games. Also, we are doing what you call an entertainment center during the break time, because at the stadium, the morning session, between the morning and evening session, there is a break of a couple of hours. So the fans will clear the stadium. Approximately the first sessions would finish around 12:30, and then the first day they come back at 2:30 with the opening ceremony. But between that, there will be entertainment just outside of the stadium, in the environs, where people can go refresh themselves. They will listen to music. We have shows. We have Ricardo King Douglas and his team working on that. That's through the Grenada Tourism Authority. They are sponsoring that aspect of the games. So that is a new feature that we are introducing. We did not have it in 2016, but this year we're hoping that this will be a hit. People can go get memorabilia, can get food, and also be entertained.
Mr. Moses, please piggyback on that.
Yeah, I
Those
was
are
saying,
ancillary features.
just want to add to what Conrad has said. There are two important determinants of why we bid for the games. One was to coincide with Grenada's 50th anniversary of independence. As you know, we have a year-long celebration, so we felt that having the CARIFTA Games, bringing all our athletes and the supporters to Grenada, will contribute to that, celebratory atmosphere. And most importantly, from the Athletic Association point of view, we also celebrate 100 years of existence. And I think that is significant in the life of any organization. Athletics has a very strong legacy and history in Grenada that to highlight that 100 years, that only happened once in our lifetime, right? So we felt, it would have been appropriate if we, could attract the games at this point in time. So two very powerful drivers of why we sought to get the games to come to Grenada. And the other thing, I want to support Conrad in what he says. The Grenada hosting of the games has been a total experience where we highlight the traditional hospitality and difference and uniqueness of the Grenadian people and its environment. And the feedback that we have gained over the past really highlights that aspect of the Grenadian experience, where people are so happy, they enjoy themselves in Grenada. The Grenadian public and community have been welcoming. And so we hope to continue in that tradition. And that is why we regard this as a total experience. So it's not only focusing on athletics, but just, the Grenadian experience. People will leave feeling, wow, this was a weekend well spent and wanting to come back.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the games has been held against the backdrop of the just concluded 50th anniversary of independence, the celebrations that are still ongoing. Now, within the context of these games, are there any plans to award or highlight past Grenadian athletes, not only who participated, and of course you mentioned the 100th anniversary of the Athletic Association. Would there be any attempts at recognizing, awarding past athletes, perhaps posthumously, athletes who've contributed? And of course, I'm not talking about, with all due respect to our greats, Kirani James and others, who I believe were awarded in the past, but any other plans around that?
What we have done so far, we have begun highlighting some of our top athletes. We are doing a magazine, and a significant portion of that magazine speaks to a number of our outstanding athletes over the years. As part of that celebration, and it's a year-long celebration, we have plans to do exactly what you're suggesting. Not at this particular games. Certainly, that is in the making. We're hoping that after we have completed this highly successful CARIFTA Games, we then go on to other things to highlight our 100 year of existence. And that, of course, will be one of the features we'll be focusing on.
Okay. Very well. So, Mr. Francis, is there anything else you wish to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that what we have done also is that we have invited some of our top athletes to witness the games and join us at the games. Lyndon Victor will be there. Anderson Peters will be there. We've invited Hazelin Regis, but I don't think she's able to make it. So too is Kirani James. He will not be able to make it, but we have invited these people to join us as some of our top athletes over the years. Aline Francisco also, where he's experiencing some difficulties with the traveling. So we're not very certain if he would be here or not. But we would have really loved them to join us in celebrating this activity. But apart from that, we've also invited and we're hoping that these people will join us. We have 10 outstanding athletes from the CARIFTA Games of the past that would be given special invitations together with coaches. We're hoping that Mr. Neville Green, one of our outstanding coaches, would join us in the VIP section. Other people like Trevor Modest and Selwyn Smith, and even some of the participants at the very first CARIFTA Games, people like Carl Hysent and Kenneth Noel. We are hoping that these people will join us. And all this is to really recognize our athletes of the past and also of the not so very past. In the most recent times, people like Selwyn Smith and Shamin Ross, right back to 1972.
That's good. We're going back in history there. Now, of course, this week, early last week, the names were selected for the team, and that generated much debate on social media, on the athletic page, as everything else in Grenada, right? There is always a debate and a conversation. Now, let us talk about the procedures that were used to arrive with this team. And of course, the second part of that question has to do with the actual size of the team. Now, Jamaica normally fields a delegation of 70 to 80 athletes, but we only fielded 68 athletes. Talk about the size of the team versus also the methodology that you use to select the athletes who now would be competing and representing Grenada at CARIFTA.
Yeah. I like when you said that, in Grenada, anything generates it's a big issue,
Yes.
And
you can't please all the people all the time.
You cannot please everybody. You cannot. But and everyone seems to be a selector, But we have our policy in place, and we try to stick to that policy as much as possible. There would be some flexible areas, right? And that's what the selectors have done. The methodology used is that we look at athletes who have been participating at our meets throughout the season, and we try to set up a ranking system so we know exactly the athletes' ability and their times and their performances. But apart from that, we have stipulated that to be selected in the team, you must have participated at the national championships. If you did not, you're supposed to have a valid reason why you did not participate at the games. And this is because most people think that the CARIFTA team is selected from performances at the intercall, but we do not use the intercall as the main meet for selection. So what you find happens is that athletes would have sometimes better performances at intercall. And we do look at that. We look at it and we compare what they have done with national championships. Now, if they have not participated at national championships and have done a better performance at intercall, we also look at that. We also look at it, and we look at maybe why this person did not participate at national championships. So there are a number of variables, but we also have great flexibility. Now, with the games, what we have noticed that the talent pool is not as great as in previous years. In fact, there are only a handful of athletes who actually made the qualifying standard, right, for that we have set for the games. And but we have said clearly that we are at home and we want our athletes to have that experience. So the methodology used there, we said that we're going to select the first person in the event without looking at standard, without looking at performance. But we're going to give these athletes an opportunity, even if they did not make the standard, right? And so we're going to at least select the first person. Now, there are instances where first and second were selected because the timings were sort of close, or the performance. So we decided to give them that opportunity to compete. Now, again, we were very flexible. Apart from that, we had a mandate from the LOC, from the local organizing committee, that to keep the team streamlined, In fact, what we presented to the LOC was much higher than they actually anticipated, because the team is actually 73 persons, because you have to cater for accommodation for not only the team, but officials traveling. So we have 63 athletes and 10 officials, 73. You alluded to Jamaica. Jamaica, actually, the maximum officials that you can travel with is 12. So 80 and 12, you're talking about 92, right? And some of these teams, large teams, they are actually paying for extra officials, right? So that happens, right? And so you find that Jamaica team probably is closer to 100 than 80, which is the maximum amount. Well, 80 plus 92 should actually be the maximum amount, but they are probably close to 100. So these are the guiding principles that we have used, and we can understand. Well, I've seen some of the comments, and yes, we understand that, but that's the reality of it. That's the reality. And people would have varying views of who ran faster and who didn't run faster. But there are a lot of variables. Some of these athletes are competing in more than one event. So you have to look at, I mean, I do not want to go into the details and ramifications of it, but to say that we as a federation, we are pleased that the selectors have come up with the best show, the best that we have, and we are hoping that these athletes will go out there and do their country proud.
Mr. Moses, I'm going to bring you back here for this question. Are there particular athletes or particular areas in respect of different races, different field events that you want to highlight that you think Grenada would shine in?
Well, that's difficult this year. As Conrad indicated, this year we do not have a lot of outstanding athletes per se, but traditionally Grenada has been strong in the field events, particularly in the javelin. And from what I noticed, I think there are possibilities in the javelin. But I think I limit my comment to saying that being at home, many of the athletes given an opportunity to represent their countries, despite that the fact they did not meet the standards that we set. I think they'll be incentivized and highly motivated to do their best. My expectation is that if every athlete can do their best, have the best distances, the highest throws, the longest jump of their career on this occasion, that will be a win for me. So it does not necessarily have to translate into a medal. That would be great. But I would like to see every athlete surpass their best. And that will be great, because on this occasion, hosting the games and exposing a lot of athletes at this level, I think that would serve as, an incentive to get a feel of what it takes. So when they prepare for next year and they see what the competition is like, that will inspire them to work harder, dedicate themselves greater sense of commitment, So that's my expectations, really.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Moses, let us talk about the scheduling of the games, if you can speak to that at least. In respect of, so for example, in Intercall, we have the heats in the morning and then we have the finals in the afternoon. Let us also talk about the tickets. What's of course, we're going to get into the ticket sale process as well. Are there season tickets? Do we have tickets, daily tickets? What does that look like? And what about
let me
exit
start
and
off with
entry
the scheduling
policies?
process.
Yes.
The games are run over 3 days. There is a morning and an evening session.
Yes.
In the morning, it starts at 9. It will conclude around 12 to 12:30. In particular case, you may find a field event drawing on, beyond the 12 o'clock. And it starts again on the first day, that's on Saturday at 2:30 with the official opening, and is expected to go up to about 8 o'clock. On the following day, it's similar. It will start at 3, and on the third day, it will start at 4 in the afternoon, going up to 8 o'clock. Generally, there are lots of heats in the morning sessions, but there are also finals in the morning sessions. So it's just as competitive and just as attractive. So that's the schedule. In terms of tickets, as you're aware, we have the main stand, the secondary stand, and our bleachers. So the prices vary. We try to accommodate the local public so that we feel that the pricing has been appropriate given the need to raise as much revenue as we can because of expensive venture to host the CARIFTA Games. And so we have season tickets for all locations. In the case of the main stand, that has been sold out very early with a few remaining individual tickets. What you may find happening over the weekend, as you know, the Easter weekend is a very popular weekend in Grenada. Lots of events, church occasions, weddings, whatever. So one individual may purchase a season ticket, but it may not come on a particular day. And so in that case, those persons who choose to purchase for one day, it limits the amount of season tickets, but individually, you may find a space on the Saturday or on the Sunday. So there may be, less than 2 dozen or so tickets available for those individual days. In the secondary pavilion, 1/3 of that pavilion is used for hosting the athletes and the officials. And so the rest of the pavilion is available for the viewing public. And again, there are season tickets and independent tickets. So far, all the season tickets have been exhausted. For the final day, that's totally sold out in the secondary pavilion. So there are few tickets available for the Saturday and the Sunday, but it's going very quickly. So what we left is the bleachers, and that has been moving very quickly because unfortunately, a lot of our fans respond very late. So while we have been advertising very early and urging people to grab those tickets, they were not. And so most of our foreigners who are the diehard athletic fans traveling to Grenada, they secured very early.
I know a few who are going down. I'm a bit jealous, but
so the Bahamas alone comes alone with just over 200 supporters.
Yeah.
So it's very competitive. You'll have to search very hard to find a ticket to the main stand and the secondary stand. So you're left with primarily the bleachers. But our expectation is that everything will be sold out. And we're urging all Grenadians to utilize the last few days to ensure that you secure your seat because it's going to be a very exciting, very competitive event. It's designed to deliver a holistic, enjoyable experience over the weekend.
Is there a finish line stand section that has been created?
Yes, it's not the first time we're doing that. The premium tickets are at the finish line, and those disappeared very quickly, very early. So the choice seats are at the finish line, both top and bottom of the main stand.
Very well. Very well. Gentlemen, Mr. Francis, anything else you wish to add in respect of generating public support for the games? Of course, we know that Grenadians rally around their athletes irrespective of whether or not those athletes acquire as many medals as shall we say, a Jamaica or a Trinidad. In fact, one commenter, an avid athletic fan said, they're coming to Grenada, but we are going to ensure that they work hard for their medals.
Yeah, I would just like to encourage people to come out and support their athletes.
Yes.
Athletes are motivated when they have the fans behind their back. It can really lift their performances because the team has very good potential. We have a group of young sprinters, and we are not really noted for our ability in the sprinting events. But this year, look out for our athletes. I believe that they will get into the finals and can compete for medals there. There's a group of nice young boys that we think can go all the way. So we're encouraging people to come out and give them the support. Mr. Aaron spoke about the field events. We have a group of people that are in Jamaica, and they are just coming off boys and girls champs in Jamaica, and they had outstanding performances. People like DeAndre Bristol throwing over 18 meters in the shot put and over 62 meters in the javelin. We think that is very competitive, and he can get medal. We also have one Calder, we have Alia Gittins there. So we are hopeful that we can win medals in the field events as we always do. We think that we can compete also in the relays, in the boys division, both the under 17 and under 20, together with the mixed relays. So we think that if the fans come out and really support these athletes, they can lift their game, and we can end up with quite a number of medals.
Absolutely. So Grenadians in the diaspora, please, if you have not gotten tickets, although Mr. Moses intimated that most of you bought your tickets early, but if there might be last minute tickets remaining, but you have to snag those really, really quickly. Mr. Moses, is there anything else you wish to add?
Yeah, I wanted to two final comments.
Yes.
The games will be carried live on Sportsmax.
Yes.
And a lot of persons are being asking whether they can view it on GBN. Now,
correct.
Traditionally, a lot of on occasions like these, unless the stadium is sold out, in some sports they do not allow local broadcasts. I wish to advise that GBN is currently in discussions with Sportsmax, so I don't want to preempt what they're going to agree on. But I look forward to them carrying the games, given the fact that I've indicated that at this point you could almost say that we almost a sold out stadium. So most Grenadians, I'm of the view, will be able to view, but they'll be hearing further on that. The second thing I wanted,
as a follow up to that, before you make that further comment, one of our listeners, one of our viewers, asked whether or not this, in fact, will be pay-per-view or no.
Well, it's Sportsmax is carrying it on Sportsmax as well as the Sportsmax app, and it's also carried on Scene TV, and that link is available in Latin America and North America, Canada, and the USA. So certainly, outside of the Sportsmax carriage, and Sportsmax is available in the Caribbean and in Grenada. If you subscribe to it, it's on Sportsmax app as well. And the discussions that I alluded to is between GBN, who will be carrying it live if they conclude an agreement. The other thing,
but go ahead. You had a follow up. Go ahead. Yes.
Remind our patrons of what we've been talking about over the last few times that we appeared on live TV, is that the horns will not be allowed into the stadium. We're talking
Well,
about
I'm sure that would be a disappointment for many fans, but explain why.
well, not if they do not understand and appreciate the sport of athletics and
Yes.
the fact that this is an opportunity for athletes who have worked very hard to display their competence. And the nature of athletics in the running races mean that they have to be able to concentrate, particularly at the start, to ensure that they conform to the rules. And the start, you need a very quiet stadium so that people can hear and not false start. And a false start means the end of the pinnacle of the event. You cannot participate. We have failed, maturity and responsibility as an audience since this thing has been introduced recently into the sport. To do so, absolutely no control, and we cannot afford to compromise the quality and standards of an athletic meet. So from our perspective, this is not something that is welcomed and should not be utilized, because with multiple persons all over the stadium, kids, people not paying attention, not listening, it is a major distraction, it's a disservice. And that is unlike our Caribbean approach where we have our drumming and all that. But when you have drumming and those things, it's restricted to a small group who understands and will go quiet, but not when you have all sorts of different personalities.
Random people with horns and so on, yes.
Yeah. In addition,
right, but
it is detrimental to the health of many persons. If you're sitting close to somebody who is doing that, it can damage your eardrum, definitely. And patrons have complained. They go home in the night, they can't sleep, their ears are ringing. So it is not it is not a healthy thing to do. It demonstrates lack of appreciation for people sitting close to you who are different. Their eardrums are different. They have different, So we need to appreciate that we need to be, conscious of those things. And people come there to enjoy athletics. It's not a party. Yes, the way we celebrate, but that sustained is unbearable to a lot of people, and it's not healthy. So do not violate those terms and conditions that can lead to you being asked to leave if you constitutes a nuisance, because you are preventing the smooth functioning and running of the games, doing a disservice to the most important stakeholder on that day, which is the athletes themselves.
The athletes themselves, absolutely. And gentlemen, before I segue into final comments and get to the next segment, we do have some viewer questions that I want you to answer here. And again, if you're just joining us on the Bub Report, please remember to share this live stream. Of course, the first segment here, our conversation is looking at Grenada's hosting of the 51st CARIFTA Games that's happening next week, which of course is also Easter weekend. So a packed weekend of activities in the Spice Island for sure. So let us get to some of the viewer comments. Jose Onesco is asking, can you ask why primary school athletes were not picked, chosen to be on the CARIFTA team? But I believe, Mr. Francis, you spoke to that about your selection process, but are there any primary school athletes in the mix?
No, there aren't. Kids in primary school are 15 years old, and none of them have reached the standard. The CARIFTA Games is under 17 and under 20. So yes, a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old can make the team, but at national championships, there were some of them participating because it was open championships, and none have achieved the standard.
The same viewer is asking, is there an age barrier to be on the CARIFTA team? What are those rules? Age?
Yeah, from 13 to 19. So you have the under 17 category and the under 20.
Okay, very well. Let's get to some other questions and comments. Shadonna Batiste, welcome to the Bub Report. We have to train them from primary school to be CARIFTA ready. Jamaica has a BOSS program. as their athletes dominate. We have to find out what they're doing and what we're not. Mr. Moses, I'll jump to you first and then go over to Conrad for this comment.
Grenada has been cited as one of the countries that had traditionally one of the best development programs. Jamaica is seen as the best, and the bigger territories, Grenada on the top. Athletics is a very popular sport from kindergarten right through. Every kindergarten school right through have an athletics meet. We see tremendous talent at that level. We have honed our development on our educational system that's supposed to provide a structured route that captures, support, and enables our young people throughout their school career. Unfortunately, we have seen a decline, in that structure and the way it functions in the last 15 years or so. And we in the Athletic Association have always articulated with the policymakers that we need to ensure that the relationship between the Department of Education and the Ministry of Sports remain a cohesive one, where we subscribe to a holistic education that includes maximization of all your faculties, including the physical. And so sports should be an integral part of our educational system. Unfortunately, we have had many complaints, and we have seen it, where there being a shift towards the academic, neglecting the physical and other technical development. And many of our coaches that we have sought in the past to ensure that every school have a physical education teacher who have been trained in the different sporting disciplines have not gotten the support, and many of them have moved into the academic stream. And so there has been, challenges there. And we continually advocate that we need to get back there, and we hope we now get the support once again to ensure that that structure that has served us so well continues, and to address the long-standing issue that we have not been able to get the policymakers to address is the early retirement of athletes who move to TAMCC at 15, 16-year-old, where there isn't a program. And so you have people retiring before they can maximize their full potential. And that remains a serious issue that have to be addressed if we are to continue that long history and tradition of producing very competitive athletes, disciplined individuals, and giving them opportunities for a livelihood to gain further education to enhance themselves, in the future. And so, yes, there are challenges. We have been articulating for those changes, and hopefully we'll see some action very soon. But these are some of the challenges we do have.
Very well. Mr. Francis?
Yeah, if I may just say that Mr. Moses has been right. He has been spot on it, and but just to add that there are physical education teachers in the primary schools and secondary schools, but what has happened is that they have been converted to classroom teachers, and some of them have done our certification program, our athletics coaching system, and they do not coach anymore in the secondary schools. They do not coach in the primary schools, because physical education has a skill section when you're teaching physical education, and these basic skills are no longer taught at the primary schools. And in the secondary schools, most of these teachers, they go to school now with tie and tight skirts. When I was a Gibbs master at Buka Secondary, I went to school with track pants and a jersey. So even if I had to teach a classroom class, that's my gear. That's what I wore. But there has been a significant shift to that. Even at the Ministry of Sports. When this is Victor and I went into the Ministry of Sports, we ensured that we implemented a program, a coaching program, where we went into the schools, into the primary schools, and we taught these people the basic skills and went a little further. And that resulted in a lot of students moving on and getting medals at CARIFTA Games. Many of them. That program has I don't want to say declined, or I don't think it still exists. That doesn't happen anymore. So what we are finding is that we are not getting sufficient talent coming through. But the positive aspect of our program presently is that we've had a mushrooming of clubs. And thank God for these clubs that we have. These clubs, the coaches are sacrificing their time daily to ensure that these basic skills are taught to these athletes. And what you find now is that most of the talent emerging comes from those clubs. So that is a positive sign. But we are really hoping that we can get back to the days when the teachers, the physical education teachers, come out of the classroom and deal with the physical, as Mr. Moses said. Teach the children the basic skills. Some of these children coming off from the primary schools, they cannot even hop on one foot. They don't know what it is to hop. When we were growing up, we hopping every day. But life has changed. They are now
don't know what it is. They don't know what it is to hop.
I'm telling you, right? They cannot hop properly, right? And I mean, we now have to teach kids to do that. Before it was natural. We learned that by playing. We playing hopscotch and pitching marbles and stoning mangoes and so on. Right? But now it is a skill that has to be taught. And it is not happening in the primary schools. We are presently putting a program. Actually, the program has been approved by World Athletics. It is called Kids Athletics. And we are going to embark as a federation on this program starting in May, right? It is a grassroots program, and we're going to go out into the villages, into the schools, and ensure that we start something again with this. We did like that in the early 1980s, and we unearthed a lot of talent there. So we are hopeful that we can go back to that program. We want to also put more emphasis on our coaches education system, so we get more coaches qualified so that they could understand the whole science of coaching, understand periodization, which is a key aspect in coaching, so that they can deliver those things to their charges, because we have a responsibility to ensure that these coaches do the right things and help to educate them as much as possible.
Yeah, Mr. Moses, I want you to piggyback on that, because that goes to the question that one of the viewers, or the challenge that Ms. Batiste raised in respect of being CARIFTA and athletics ready. Just to, and of course, one of the viewers alluded to this. Is it because this generation of kids, they stay indoors more and they spend more time on their devices, that they do not see the need to engage in athletic activity? I mean, not even competitive athletic activity, but I remember growing up as a child, even through high school, even though I went to PBC, folks, I mean, not known for athletics, they even taught us how to hop, okay? but in all seriousness, how do we compete against this very mesmerizing and seductive draw of the screen that these kids are spending time on?
I think you'll be severely criticized to say that your PBC has not focused a lot on athletics. People of my vintage, they are the best.
Well, of your vintage in the 70s, yes, PBC did win intercall, folks, to the GBSS folks, okay? PBC won intercall in the 70s, all right?
But certainly, we're living a different era. Couch potatoes.
Yes.
In some respects, you can say it's a failure of my generation as parents, uh, unable to fight the trends that is happening, where we have moved towards all these electronic devices, and we need to be au fait with these devices. That's how the world is going. And as parents, it appears that we lack the ability or the willingness to ensure that our kids, had a more balanced education. I mean, a few months ago, last year, I was stuck in the traffic. As you know, we have a very small society, and
Yes.
almost every schools have cross country, you know, leading up to the games, and so you periodically have to be careful. So kids are running along some of our main roads, and while I stopped, I wouldn't name the school, but it appeared to me that about 30% or more of the athletes who are running to contribute points to the various houses were obese. And I said, wow, I mean, this was shocking. So it clearly means that as parents, we are not doing the right things. We are not ensuring that our kids eat the right things. We are not ensuring that they have balance, that they get involved in physical activity. So when they go into the school system, that where there's no formal structure that is working to ensure that they involve in a range of extracurricular activities, like in my day, you know, almost, well, not almost, every kid was required not only to be academic, you had to get involved in the various activities of the school, whether it's a historical society, geographical society, scouts, cadets, athletics, football, cricket. So unless you had a medical certificate that, did not allow you to participate in physical activities, you had to do that. And it's through that structured system where kids doing it together, they're motivated by their friends, etc. And as well as ensuring that this is something that you must engage in. Without that structure, where we allow kids to make all the decisions they could, whether to participate in an activity or not, I don't see a much future. There has to be a structured route that supports and enables kids to maximize their full potential, to try everything. And if there are weaknesses in that system, you can begin to see what the output is going to be like. And I think we need to go back into this structured system that we have built through our education system to ensure people at these young ages who do not know exactly what they need to do, they're not mature enough, they cannot be left alone to do as they feel. So we have to ensure that, they are managed, they're coached, they are mentored, they're channeled in the right direction. And I think that is where some more focus needs to be put.
Absolutely, and this is a conversation that we need to have against the backdrop of overall health and well-being, because we cannot talk about health and well-being without talking about physical activity, physical exercise. And you talk about young people being obese. One of the health challenges that we see in North America has to do with type 2 diabetes in children. We don't want to have that kind of thing creeping into the country when already we do have burdens of diabetes that we have to confront in the adult population. So having children with that type of disease burden, I don't think that is an extra burden that we need in this society. And so we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to hopping, shall we say, proverbial hopping, hopscotch and moral and dodgeball and all of these things that we played as children. But gentlemen, we do have to get to the second segment. Any closing comments from you all as Grenada gets up to host another CARIFTA Games?
Yeah, I would want to close off by saying, first of all, I want to pay tribute to our local organizing committee, ably led by Ms. Vida Bruno Victor, and all our subcommittees, our advisor, Mr. Charles George, these people have been working day and night to ensure that the games is a success. As you know, we are working as a team, right? So you find there are quite a number of persons who have volunteered their services. In fact, we have over 500 volunteers. You may say that is too many people, but we want to ensure that the games is run smoothly and efficiently as possible. We also want to thank all of our sponsors, the government of Grenada, who has supported us right through. You're talking about the resurfacing of the track at the stadium, both the track and the warm up area. You're talking about all the expenses. This CARIFTA Games is costing us, our expenditure is $3.5 million. So there's a lot of aspects, and many sponsors have come on board, and we take our hats off to them, and we want to publicly say thank you, and we hope that they would be able to come to the stadium and enjoy 3 days of good track and field, witness one of the best, not one of, but the best junior sports in the world. So we want to encourage everybody to come out and give our athletes the support that they so richly deserve.
Mr. Moses?
Well, I want to echo the sentiments of Conrad. This CARIFTA Games is the largest ever by virtue of total participation. And it's certainly a wonderful opportunity for Grenada to be, participating in hosting the largest ever CARIFTA Games at this seminal moment in our history, both of the Grenada Athletic Association and Grenada as a young nation. And so, consistent with what we have done in the past, it's a holistic approach. All Grenada should actively participate in ensuring that this lives up to the billing as the largest and possibly the most memorable CARIFTA Games that both the viewing public and our athletes can have. And that can only happen if all Grenada supports by being there, by demonstrating and reflecting the values that we hold so dearly as a very hospitable and kind and welcoming nation. So in whatever endeavor you encounter all our visitors, please ensure that you're participating, ensuring that it is indeed a memorable experience.
Very well, and it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge the athletes who graduated from CARIFTA. CARIFTA served, of course, as that incubator for them. We're talking about, of course, Kirani James, Anderson Peters, Kurt Felix, Lyndon Victor, Randy Lewis. We're talking about Aline Francique, the great Hazelin Regis of the great parish of St. David, all of the wonderful CARIFTA athletes who represented Grenada valiantly throughout the years and who went on to do great things on the international circuit. So we cannot underestimate the critical importance of CARIFTA as that very important incubator for our junior athletes. So, gentlemen, thank you for appearing on the Bub Report this week.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Viewers and listeners, Mr. Conrad Francis, the president of the Grenada Athletic Association, and Mr. Aaron Moses, who is one of the members of the local organizing committee for the upcoming CARIFTA Games, in which Grenada will be hosting the 51st edition of the CARIFTA Games in St. George's. If you've not gotten your tickets, this is the opportunity to do so. The tickets are going really fast. It's not only a Grenadian audience that will be there for CARIFTA, but we have a regional audience as well. So please ensure that you are visiting and the local ticket outlets. There are local ticket outlets in Grenada, but you can also purchase your tickets online as well. So please ensure that you are doing that. So what we will do now, viewers and listeners, is we will take a quick break and come back with the second segment of this week's edition of the Bub Report. Please stand by.
Should your loved ones pass on, they deserve to be treated with dignity. And at S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, we can provide you with that service. We can take you every step of the way during your sorrowful moments. When that need arises, call S.A. Johnson Funeral Home at 347-777-9797. That's 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home is a Caribbean family-owned funeral home here in Brooklyn, providing funeral services, but in a dignified way. From cremation to burial to the repatriation of your loved ones, you don't have to go through the hassle, as we provide exceptional service that allows you to mourn and heal peacefully. For more information, visit our website, www.sajohnsonfuneral.org. Send us an email at sajfuneral@aol.com or call 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, because you deserve to be treated with dignity.
Don't go there.
You are a technocrat. I mean, you can speak to whether or not it was appropriate or inappropriate for that to occur. Would you have done that as a permanent secretary?
Politicians get the information from wherever source that they can.
That's going to be the extent of your answer.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
There's a lot of noise around the data protection bill that, in my respectful view, is not warranted.
I was one of those making noise, and it's simply because I was concerned about that specific section 33.
Don't go there.
Are you going to be offering yourself up as political leader of the party?
I see you've called me here for much more than diplomatic passports. I don't mind that.
Don't go there.
What is the relationship like between you and your leader, Dr. Mitchell, your boss, Dr. Mitchell?
I'm not sure how to explain how to answer this question at this time. I prefer not to answer.
Don't go there.
They said that you approached the bank for the loan before the election and that it only materialized after the election. There are also conflicting reports around the quantity of monies that were received. What is the reality here?
People try to extort the truth and to make all kinds of things about it. I just stay quiet. So if you notice, I was really and truly quiet about the whole matter.
Except with not with the New Today newspaper. The New Today newspaper reported on this. So I'm not sure you were quiet on this. Go ahead, Honorable. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to answer your question, right?
Don't go there.
I think we just spoke at length about the regularization framework. So
yes, we did. But let us talk, Prime Minister. Let us talk about the workers who are dismissed.
The Bub Report. We go there.
So we understood that we have to move. They gave us a first time limit. We did not get any permission to rest it anyway. We asked for an extension by the attorney and some Cowden. They give us some. We continue to look. They told us that they were coming today. We had to move. Up to 4 o'clock this morning, we walked in to move it for some more time to cut the trees so that we can appropriately move it back. And to operate. And to operate. Whatever has to be done for operation will be done. If we have to get a toilet facility, all that they ask us for, we are prepared to do it. The first thing was to secure the permission from the landowner, which we have received yesterday. And in receiving so yesterday, we moved immediately and promptly to cut it down from where it was. If they move it, we have already spoken to an attorney this morning. And if they move it, it means that they are removing it from private property.
Here, that you're seeing here, I have connection with that. So the men told me that they have to move it today. They had to move it, but they had no way to put it. So I said, well, they want to put it by midday until, and then, well, later on, they could lease it.
And in the meeting, they were stating that they want to get a place first for the vendors, and then they could relocate the vendors. Yeah, but nothing for me, I realize has done. And the letter they give us stating that in 24 days or whatever, You have to relocate. It's not something you can just pick up on the ground and move with. You feel me? And that is something people doing as a livelihood. You feel me? It's injustice. Therefore, the politician them lying. You feel me? Because if you're promising one and then you're doing the next, come on. You feel me? Yeah.
And viewers and listeners, welcome back to this week's edition of the Bub Report. Now, in the early part of 2024, the Planning and Development Authority of Grenada, they started to partner with other government stakeholders in the country to undertake a comprehensive demolition drive to remove illegal structures occupying the nation's roadsides on lands ostensibly that form part of Crown lands. Now, the ongoing initiative that commenced in January, in fact, aims to create, according to the Physical Planning Unit, a safer and healthier environment by removing structures erected without permits, those in a state of disrepair, those occupying Crown land without proper authorization, and those obstructing public roads. Now, last week, one of the areas that are now targeted for demolition and removal are the vendors along the Port Highway. Now, while some have lauded the initiative, others has critiqued, or they have critiqued how the demolition process has been conducted by suggesting that the state may not be following the due process rights that are encoded in the Planning and Development Authority Physical Planning Control Act. Now, for this particular segment, we're happy to be joined by one of the outspoken vendors who has graciously agreed to speak with us. That's Miss Sharon Hutchinson, and
Yes.
she's one of the vendors on Port Highway. Sharon, I probably patronize your bar on my visits to Grenada for Carnival. If you do have music playing and so on, I probably take a wine in front of your bar, and maybe I didn't know I was drunk, but I don't know. Maybe I did. But as a programming note, folks, we did invite the chief administrative officer at the PDA, which is, of course, a statutory body in the state. That is Ms. Janice Leslie. She initially agreed to sit with us, but canceled a day later, citing a need to revisit their communication strategy in respect of how they speak with the media. That was her reasoning, but in the interest of balance, as we do on the Bub Report, we do invite all sides to engage in this important conversation. So, Ms. Hutchinson, welcome to the Bub Report.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and it's a happy Sunday to you. I hope that I'm not taking your lunch time away from you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
but I'm glad you're here with us. So, of course, this week you made the news with the Grenada Broadcasting Network. They spoke to you and with other vendors there. Of course, you do know what the government has announced. This is not new, I'm sure, to you, because I'm sure they've had meetings with you. But first and foremost, let us set this up first. How long have you been vending on the area known as the Port Highway? And what approvals were given to you and the other vendors to vend there? Of course, historically, for those who know, I believe it was the Blue Bubbles. The Blue Bubbles has always been there. And then several booths followed from the Blue Bubbles that led to a bit of an expansion there as well. So talk to us about how the process of how you got to getting on the Port Highway.
Okay, well, at the time I was married, and we obtained the land. I would say we occupied the land November of 2019. And over that period of time, COVID happened. So things, offices, ministry start to close. So a lot of things we couldn't get done until afterwards, until after it kind of opened up a little. So what I did, I didn't see any guidelines or any procedures or any, steps to take. So of course I got the business license back in November. And from that point, then we didn't have lights. At the time, we didn't have water. So what I did is I went to the St. George constituent of St. George. I went to him at that time.
And that is Mr. Peter David.
Yes.
But just pause. Just pause 1 second. You said you obtained a business license.
Yes.
So talk to us about that business license. What agency did you go to that business license? And what was the approval process like?
I just went to the intellectual property office on top of the lane, and I filled out the information. I put my address, and then after that, we went into the Ministry of Treasury, and we went through the tax thing where you have to fill out the information for that. And we got our certificate to put on the wall.
Right. Okay.
And then,
all right. Yeah. So fast forward now to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but you met with the member of parliament, that's Mr. David, who at the time was in government. Yes, he was the Minister of Agriculture. Well, not, maybe he was Foreign Affairs at the time in 2019 or whatever minister. The fact is, he was in government at the time. So please proceed.
Yes. So in his letter, he was requesting for us to have lights and electricity. And I was able to obtain water through NAWASA. I had to buy my own line from the public water pipe to the shop. And after that, I tried to get my electricity through Green Lake, but I was having problems with the Minister of Agriculture. He wouldn't sign it because of some meetings with the Port Authority, and there's some other stakeholders. So what I did was they still gave me electricity. They give it to me during carnival time, so I have a line. But what I did was I created my own solar grid, so I have lights. From that point, then what else did I do? Then I went into the Ministry of Land. I may be saying it wrong, but it's either Land and Works. I went in and I filled out an application requesting. I went in the squatters unit, requesting to buy or lease the land that I was on. I filled that out because I didn't know of any guidelines or any protocols. I just figured, let me go through some steps. So that way they'll know that I'm here, that I'm not hiding. I'm present. Yeah, I'm in your face. I'm present. Then
So I just want to stop you there briefly. I just want to set this up properly. So in other words, it's not as though you just decided to just randomly get up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to put up a 2x4, as we say in Grenada, and just set up on Port Highway. You went to different relevant authorities in order to get approval to start your business. Okay, proceed.
Yes. Right before Carnival, we missed Carnival 2020. So Carnival 2021, I extended my veranda so that when it rains, that people will have somewhere to have cover. Planning came out and watched to see how much I extended it 4 feet to the right. And they said, as long as I didn't go 3 to 4 feet into the road, that I was okay. Then they looked at my my roof, and they said, do not finish out the roof, your roof, unless you use tarpaulin. Don't finish it out. It can't be a permanent structure, which I had no problems with that. So when you ask me, did I get permission? There was a collection of things. There was not ever one thing where you go in and get permission for this. But I actually took the initiative to make those steps or make myself be known. At any time, planning could have said something to me back in 2020. Nothing was said to me until, okay, I'll let you ask the question because I want to keep going.
No, go ahead, please. I usually don't like interjecting my guests because I believe that it's important for us to hear from the guests, but I feel it was important for these initial questions to just set up and contextualize where we are. So go ahead.
All right. So last year, I don't remember exactly when, but maybe 6 months ago, we as the port owners, or not owners, or port vendors, was given a letter, each one of us given a letter to meet at the Radisson Hotel to discuss possible building structure for us. And they wanted, it was like a kind of like a survey. They wanted to know how we felt about it. Did we like it? They wanted to get feedback from us. So we go to this meeting, and at the meeting, you have all the stakeholders there. Andy Williams is there. There's other members of the cabinet that's there. I don't know their names, but there were very important people there. In this meeting, I got a chance to see the render of the building that is proposed. They said they would make sure that they provide restrooms for us, a nice clean place. It would be a food court, a beautiful food court with a nice atrium with flowers and overlooking the sea and everything. It would be just nice. So we were excited. We were glad about it. It was kind of small. The cubicles were kind of small, but we are still grateful that we would still have employment.
Right, and so I'm sure that it was not a case where there does appear to be some intentionality. In other words, we just don't want to remove you, but this is what we are going to, this is where we're going to move you to.
Right.
But before I follow up with that meeting, you did say that physical planning came to you all and told you to move back a bit. They told you to make some changes so that you're not blocking the road and things like that. Do you remember who you spoke to in physical planning about this? Did they identify what their role was? And did they give you any sort of paperwork that that says, this is what we're doing as physical planning? Anything of the sort?
All I remember is a guy with a white shirt on and khaki pants and a clipboard that came to the shop on a Monday. And if we were to go back to that time, we would know who is working in the office at that time.
Right.
If we were to backtrack, we could figure out who it was.
Of course. Yes. Okay. So the conversation then was not, okay, we are trying to remove you or anything of the sort. That was not part of the conversation.
Oh, no.
It was just about mitigating how you set up, right? Your cosmetic changes. Okay. Right.
Exactly.
So fast forward, before we get to that meeting at the Radisson, when did you get a sense that the government were going to be making changes around the port? We also invited Mr. Chenny Joseph because Chenny Joseph has been posting a lot on social media in respect of redesigns for the area and taking the vendors into consideration, not displacing them, right? So at what point did vendors get a sense that there was going to be a sea change in respect of how you were to be treated at that location?
Well, I would have to say 2 years. I was hearing things. I heard about they were going to make the whole port going to be containers, and we're going to pay rent. Each one of us will have equal space. We'll have restrooms, and we will be uniformed. And I was comfortable with that because it wasn't to displace us; it was to beautify. So once we had this meeting, then that's when it changed to, we heard rumors all the time that they're going to wipe us all off the port, that they want their space back. But until I came to that meeting at the Radisson is when I really heard the plan on what was planned for us.
There we go. So it was at that Radisson meeting, and I'm trying to tee up a clip with the minister for MIT. So did they talk about what specific location did they plan to move you to, and what was the timeline? Did they give a specific timeline in respect of what that relocation process was going to look like?
Okay, they didn't give us a timeline. They just said sometime next year, because this was last year. So they said sometime next year. They said after they get the report from the finance report for the year, they would get back to us in January of 2024 or sometime after. I didn't hear anything. I've heard they had a couple of meetings. I wasn't notified. I didn't get a note on my window, or I didn't get a phone call. They have everybody's phone number. So no, I
No,
didn't.
no, but you saw those renderings. I mean, did the renderings say whether or not? Well, the minister, the MIT minister, did say that they identified a spot. I think opposite of the Pan House.
Yes.
Again, I'm not too sure. I mean, the only thing I can think about opposite of the Angel Hubs Pan House in Tantine is Homemade Bakery,
Right.
and then there is a hotel. I'm just trying to ascertain exactly when he said opposite, because if you think of opposite in the other direction, then you're thinking about the entrance to the port.
Right. I wasn't real clear myself.
Yeah.
The young ladies that was doing the renders were interns. So the questions that we were asking, you know, square footage and actual location, we weren't getting the answers to that. But in my mind, I was thinking that they were going to clear off the corner where the gas station is, come across, you know, when you come down the curve, right in that corner section. I'm thinking they were going to clear that off. I never thought in my mind that it would be opposite of the Pan House, because it's a curve right there. So
the roundabout is right there. But I believe what one of our viewers is saying opposite by Abu Shop. Wilbur Thomas is telling me it's opposite by Abu Shop. Do you know where Abu Shop is? Again, I'm not from that part of town, Mr. Thomas. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe he would be able to tell us where Abu Shop is more specifically. But go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so it wasn't real clear to me exactly where, but in my mind I was thinking it was going to be on the end by the roundabout. And they were going to build, you know, a beautiful edifice, you know, 2-story. We were going to have our own cubicles. It would be a nice food court like you see in the mall. So this is what I'm envisioned. So I thought it was a great plan.
Absolutely. I mean, if you see renderings and you see drawings, you know, I'm sure that it's something that all of the vendors were looking forward to. Yes, and then of course, let us fast forward to the demolition drive. I'm sure you saw the news before what they were doing before they got to Port Highway, because they were in other parts of the country as well, in parts of St. Paul's. Yes, and a gentleman was displaced there, or you know, told to go back a bit away from the road, right? And then the news came to you last week. But when did you get the notice from the Planning and Development Authority of the intention that you need to relocate?
Okay, I got this letter last Monday, and I have to tell you, I was very thrown off. I was shocked because I saw the commercials, I heard the commercials, and I saw the move. I heard them saying they're going to move everyone, but I didn't think Port Highway was involved in it, because they had a separate meeting with us. So I wasn't alarmed. I wasn't preparing to move, because they sectioned us off to do something particular. But when I got the letter, I said, okay, so this is including us. So what happened to the meeting? What happened to the renders? It's like, so it was a fictitious meeting. So I don't really understand. I'm intelligent. I know how to read and write and understand properly. That was very fictitious.
Yes. So in other words, you felt as if you were throwing a curveball. So on the one hand, you're saying, yes, we're going to move you, you know, but and we're going to make sure that you do have that space to relocate. But on the other hand, you're now getting a notice that, hey, you have to relocate, but we do not have any place to put you. So
well, in that notice, there was nothing in the notice that said, and we will be relocating you. So I don't think it would make sense to knock us all down and then say, we'll get back to you after we build the building, which may be a year. So in the meantime, the livelihoods of myself and all my colleagues would be unemployed.
And let us talk about those colleagues. How many vendors in the grand scheme of things are located on Port Highway?
There's approximately 13 or 14.
13 or 14 vendors. Okay. Now let us talk about in respect of the appeal process. Did the notice mention anything about your ability to appeal their decision? Because I do know we were supposed to have Mr. Dave Ned here because Mr. Dave Ned served in some advisory role with the previous iteration of the physical planning board. But Mr. Ned, unfortunately, is unable to be with us this morning. And one of the issues that civil society has raised is that the government, at least the Planning and Development Authority, is not necessarily giving you an opportunity to appeal the decision. What conversations have you been having in respect of due process, trying to appeal this decision, trying to appeal perhaps for more time? If in fact they are to go ahead with this, what's that looking like for you?
Well, I'm in the process of looking for someone to appeal it for me. It does state in the letter that we can appeal it before the 28th. But then again, that costs money. So you're talking to people who are, challenging financially, we're challenged. So, okay, so now there's another cost that we have to come up with to save our livelihood.
Right. Yeah, and of course, my deceased aunt Carol Williams. For those of you who know Carol Williams, she was a vendor as well, and vendors don't necessarily have a stash of money saved somewhere, right? So I think that is something that people have to appreciate. But one of the issues, one of the concerns that citizens have raised, some citizens have raised, and that has to do with health and safety. Well, there are two safety concerns here. One, the first safety concern, and of course, this is not a question for you to answer, it's for the authorities to answer. And I'm not too sure if those conversations were had when you were initially setting up. And that is the fact that the Port Authority area is considered a security area. It's a high security area. And you're supposed to have a particular protocols in place for what types of facilities should be constructed or erected around a nation's port of entry. Did they have any conversations with you about that in the approval process for you getting approval to vend there in the first place?
No, just remember that my approval was like patchwork. I went to each one trying to make sure that I am going by protocol. There was nothing put in place where if you're going to obtain space on Port Highway, you have to go through these measures. That was not put in place. So I tried to do it myself.
Okay. And take that initiative. And then the second part of that safety has to do with health and safety. Let us talk about, because people have been saying that, well, a lot of the vendors they don't follow health and safety protocol in respect of sanitization protocols, hand washing, bathroom facilities, things like that. In the context of Port Highway, what measures do you have in place to ensure that you are following those best practices? And the second part of that question has to do with the Ministry of Health. Do health inspectors come to inspect the booths there? Because I do know that is something, especially around carnival time, that health inspectors ensure that you all have your badges and so on, to be able to vend and things like that. So talk to us about that process.
Okay. First, as far as restrooms,
yes,
there are two restrooms that there's actually three restrooms that we can go to that's near. I mean, you have to walk a little distance. There's one at Canteen Field, there's one at the TWU building, and some people go to the restroom at the gas station. I'm missing one. And then there's one going into Dolly C. Going inside there's a restroom. As far as cleanliness, two things. I have someone, I mostly sell drinks, but when I have someone that has their food handler's license or certificate, then the health department did come through and give me instruction. They inspected and they gave me instructions on how, to work with the practices.
Okay.
So just I can speak for myself.
Right. So the Ministry of Health does come around.
They have come since I've been there. They've come by maybe 3 times in the 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Very well. Very well. These are very important. I think it's just important for us to put everything in its proper context, right? Because the news only gives you the news only gives you like a short clip in time, right? And so what we try to do on the Bob Report is to go deeper and find out more about what's happening in the background, because I think it's important. Viewers and listeners, also programming notes. We did invite Mr. Peter David to appear on the program this morning. He saw our messages, but he did not respond. I suppose he's probably busy with court or probably busy with preparing for another political rally. But Mr. David, you are always excited to come on the Bob Report, sir. We're hoping that you can come to speak to this issue, because this is a very important issue. You were on MTV on GBN last week. Come to the Bob Report, sir, so we can speak to this. But overall, Ms. Hutchinson, I just want you to reflect on the challenges of the working class Grenadians in respect of earning an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, because you attempted, as you said, to find some way of vending on Port Highway, yes, and how would that affect sort of that ability, your ability to sustain your livelihood if this demolition process proceeds?
Okay, that's kind of a 2-part question.
Yes.
I want to elaborate at the beginning.
Yes.
I am Grenadian. I came to Grenada as a Kititian. I am part of a citizen of CARIFTA. I chose Grenada because of its beauty. I love Grenada. It still has that authentic local island feeling. It's not. It doesn't feel commercial. It doesn't feel like the Western world has come over and taken over everything.
Right.
A lot of my friends come to visit me just for the beauty, the waterfalls, the sitting down with with locals to have oil down, or never had fried bakes before, never tasted breadfruit before.
You never had fried bakes before coming to
Not
Grenada?
me, my friends.
Oh, your friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that. I was about to say
we call it Johnny Bakes.
Johnny Bakes, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah. So no, I'm just telling you the reason why I can get my family and friends to come, because it's very authentic. It's still untouched. It's inhabited. It's still
very safe. Yes, you feel safe in Grenada. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So me coming to Grenada, I said on the news the other day that I'm 64, but I'm 63, and I'm retired, and I chose Grenada to retire here and to live out the rest of my days here in Grenada. So I spent because of COVID, I spent a lot of my retirement money. So a lot of my funds have went into this economy. A lot. So now I'm on the mercy of working here in Grenada. But with the working, I get a chance to meet people, and the tourists. I get to just enjoy the vibe. This is my retirement time. But when someone comes and just knock you off your perch and says, no matter what you paid for the building, no matter what you invested over the years, move, get off. So what about the well-being, the well-being of myself and my colleagues? What about our livelihood? What about us? So, we are the people. You're the people. I'm the people. We are the people. So if we're the people, that means that our government is supposed to work for us. So, that's my soapbox.
Yeah.
I'm
No. This is a very important soapbox, and part of that soapbox, your age. You said you were 63, man. Whatever fountain of youth serum you have, whatever youth juice you have, do you make a youth juice? Please, start bottling that and sell it, please. I need it.
I just had a great grandson about 3 months ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you are indeed blessed. You are indeed blessed in respect of your age. But the government side of this would say, they're just following the rules, and you did not go through the right channels in order to set up, and that where you are. I'm sure you've heard that narrative, and there is the school of thought, that counter narrative to that point, that says it's not necessarily what you do, but it's how you do it.
Yes. I don't mind moving. I don't mind
on that.
Yeah, I don't mind moving. That's not the problem. I don't know what my screen is.
No, I can see you. You need to adjust your laptop. Go ahead. Keep speaking.
Okay. I have no problems moving. That is not the problem. The problem is how they delivered, how they started off one way and then changed without telling us. Even if they told us, okay, we are no longer going to be able to set up a food court for you all, but we're going to give you 90 days, 3 months to dismantle, because that gives us time to find a place to lease or to just dismantle. It gives us time. But 28 days, you might as well just go ahead and knock my building down, because what can I do in 28 days?
Yeah. So I think that's the contention here. The fact that you're okay with moving, you're okay with relocating. In fact, the intention is to relocate, and we are in the process of loading that clip. But it's okay. You just springing. It feels as if this has been sprung on you without adequate time to prepare. Yes.
Yes.
Now, there was another brother that we were trying to get here. I believe his name is Ras. You're going to help me here.
Ronald Street.
Yes, indeed. Right. But we've not had any luck there. But let us talk about, there was one vendor there who was there for, you said he has been there for close to 20 years, I believe.
That's him.
You indicated?
That's right.
So that's a long time. So it's not as if, so the point I'm making is it is not as if vendors have been there yesterday. Right? Or in 2019. You're talking about folks who were there way before that.
Yes. Yeah, you have Brian, the guy that serves fish on the port. He's been there 25 years, possibly. You have the lady who at the Carib shop. She's been there since, I don't know. You have the Roti, you have Sandra. These people have all been there for years.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely what we want to do now, we want to take a quick break. But we are going to tee up what Mr. Williams said while we take that break. Viewers and listeners, please share this conversation. And as a programming note, Ms. Hutchinson, please stay with us. We'll be right back with you. But as a programming note, we did invite both Miss Janice Leslie of the Planning and Development Authority. She initially agreed, but then declined. Mr. Dave Ned was supposed to be here, but he is traveling and is having some data issues, I believe, where he is. Where he's in his location, and we reached out to Mr. Peter David, who appeared on the news. I would say it again, he appeared on the local news, both on MTV and on GBN, but we reached out to him. He saw our message, did not respond, and so I just want to set that up, because we usually like to get a proper balance on the Bub Report. Unfortunately, those people are not here with us today. So let us take a quick break, folks. And we will be right back for some closing comments, and we'll try and get some of your viewer comments as well into this conversation. Please stand by.
Don't go there.
You are a technocrat. I mean, you can speak to whether or not it was appropriate or inappropriate for that to occur. Would you have done that as a permanent secretary?
Politicians get the information from wherever source that they can.
That's going to be the extent of your answer.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
There's a lot of noise around the data protection bill that, in my respectful view, is not warranted.
I was one of those making noise, and it's simply because I was concerned about that specific section 33.
Don't go there.
Are you going to be offering yourself up as political leader of the party?
I see you've called me here for much more than diplomatic passports. I don't buy that.
Don't go there.
What is the relationship like between you and your leader, Dr. Mitchell, your boss, Dr. Mitchell?
I'm not sure how to explain how to answer this question at this time. I prefer not to answer.
Don't go there.
They said that you approached the bank for the loan before the election and that it only materialized after the election. There are also conflicting reports around the quantity of monies that were received. What is the reality here?
People try to extort the truth and to make all kinds of things about it. I just stay quiet. So if you notice, I was really and truly quiet about the whole matter.
Well, except with not with the New Today newspaper. The New Today newspaper reported on this, so I'm not sure you were quiet on this. Go ahead, Honorable. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to answer your question, right?
Don't go there.
I think we just spoke at length about the regularization framework. So
yes, we did. But let us talk. Let us talk, Prime Minister. Let us talk about the workers who are dismissed.
The Bub Report. We go there.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for checking out the Bub Report's social media pages. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch our weekly live show, follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch repeat episodes on Wednesdays at 4 and 5 p.m. respectively on CRFM Radio and GBN TV in Grenada. We are also viewed on Sundays at 8 p.m. on WPG10 throughout the Caribbean. Thanks for watching.
Hello everyone, I am Chantal McGuire, the local bred Grenadian actuary and asset liability management expert. Are you satisfied with your current finances? Are you curious and constantly looking for ways to make additional income? Join me on the Bub Report as we strive to empower you, our valued audience, to become more financially literate and help evolve Grenadians into a mindset that's investment focused and entrepreneurial. Literacy is about freedom. It's about being able to control your money and not letting your money control you. It's about foresight for a brighter future. Our core mission is to promote financial literacy and share money-generating opportunities for everyone. Join us on the last Sunday of every month, starting July 30th, as we strive to provide the keys to financial freedom.
And the viewers and listeners, welcome back to this week's edition of the Bub Report. We are speaking with one of the vendors at the Grenada Port Highway area, Ms. Sharon Hutchinson, who graciously agreed to appear on our program. Ms. Hutchinson, I'm still in shock and awe at your age. I really am. You know that there is the old adage that black don't crack, right?
It is, but it snaps back.
Listen, let me tell you, don't get me started, okay? I don't usually like acting up on the Bub Report. But let's get to some viewer comments before we tee up the clips that we have with Mr. Andy Williams, who spoke extensively about the administration's visual transformation initiative, because I believe a lot of this demolition activities is happening under the administration's project of visual transformation, which I'm sure they mentioned at the town hall as well. But let us get to some comments. Again, viewers and listeners, please keep your comments respectful. We are not like any other platform. We respect our guests and we foster respectful dialogue. You can disagree, but there is no need to be disrespectful. So any ad hominem insults, attacks would not be tolerated on this platform, as you know. So Hudson George is saying, our citizens should never be victims of collateral damages. Yep. And then we have another comment. I'm hearing that there's people who went and built up something as having a business in the notation that government was going to give monies to move. I'm not following that particular train of thought. Let us get a more coherent construction there, sir, and we are going to review the comment again. Someone is saying, I recall the road maintenance workers in St. Kitts having temp portable toilets up when working. Not one person I saw peed by the road. So Grenada is what? Again, I think perhaps what the viewer is saying here is that, there is this idea that you just randomly go and relieve yourself on the side of the road. But what you're saying here, that does not happen, at least not in your case on Port Highway there. Let us get to another comment. Sheldon is saying there are things that are unique to island life. Tourists travel to see island life. Otherwise, they can go to Miami or France.
Right.
I'm sure that's why you came to Grenada, right?
Right.
Because again, as you said, that the island, the authentic nature of Grenada. Go back to where you were. That's right. I remember Hudson Johnson. I remember when the PRG demolished Chinatown with the excuse of getting rid of prostitution. That's interesting. Was there a Chinatown in Grenada? I never knew that. But in less than 4 years, the same PRG's leaders' names were involved in all kinds of conspiracy love stories that led to the death of a woman. We must be vigilant so that we don't repeat the past. Now, Peter Cox is asking, because some of the vendors have been there for a long time, and I'm sure I'm going to be asking you this as well. Possessory title, does possessory title apply? Have you heard conversations about, in other words, if you've been occupied on a certain amount of land, a certain amount of time on lands in Grenada, you can possess the lands? Have you heard those conversations?
Yes. After 12 years.
Okay, so after 12 years, you heard those conversations that you can actually claim title to the land that you're on. Was that your intention in respect of where you are?
No. I just, I just decided to come to Grenada. I didn't even think of 12 years. I don't know. I might go sail and sail on the sea. I don't know. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here.
Right. Lydia James, good morning to you. She's saying, all you see what the previous administration caused. Look at the root cause. It's not today it started. Check back the years. Let us get to another viewer comment. LaQuisha Roberts is saying, Dr. Bub, you're doing a great job with these conversations. Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Again, I think it's important to be respectful. Sometimes we have a tendency as a people to talk down to certain segments of the society, and I don't believe in that. Everyone gets an equal share of conversation here on the Bub Report, and we have to be respectful in dialogue. My aunt, the late Carol Williams, deceased, was a vendor. She did not have a permanent place anywhere, but she vended during carnival time. She was a spice vendor at the vendors market.
Okay.
And so I have that experience of having to also hustle with my late aunt Carol of blessed memory. So I know what it's like.
You're empathetic to that.
I have that lived experience. I have that empathy as well. So I do understand what it can look like. Again, Camille Mitchell is saying same thing. I may be incorrect, but I think Grenada has a law called possessory title. Landowners needs to pay particular attention to this. If you know, you know. Yep. Those were some of the question. Of course, Laurel is also saying, and that's to you, Ms. Hutchinson, just like St. Kitts have standards, so does Grenada. St. Kitts is clean of roadside vendors. I don't recall seeing this there. Talk about that.
Okay, they have similar to container parks.
Parks, okay.
Yes, so they early on they provided a place for the vendors to go. So they have vendor parks. So yes. So when they mentioned that they're going to put us in a food court building,
yes,
I'm thinking, yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it.
Right. Okay. Right. Yes. Okay. Now we are going to, and before we get to you for closing comments, because I do want to respect your time, We're going to play 2 clips from Mr. Andy Williams. Of course, Mr. Williams appeared on the Bub Report last year. We actually had this conversation last year with Mr. Williams where we pressed him on this initiative. And we're going to play what he said and then play what was said at a town hall meeting. I don't believe that was a town hall meeting that he held with you all. That meeting, that was not a town hall meeting, but it was a town hall meeting that was held with Mr. Williams in which the promise was made about the vending. So we're going to play those 2 clips. And then in the wrap up, what I want you to do is perhaps provide your own suggestions as well in respect of how you can move forward, or perhaps talk about the suggestions you raised at the meeting, because government policy is not only about top-down approaches, it's also about hearing from the people as well. So we want to hear from you as well. So let's play that clip and we'll come back for some final comments.
Okay.
So when I'm making these statements, I'm not just making these statements because I want to make these statements. It's actually happening. And it's something that we have to deal with. We have to. And I'm saying, if the previous administration did not have the guts to deal with it, we will deal with it. Because if we're talking about climate resilience and all these things, we cannot be talking about these things and turning a blind eye to that. And this is our stance on it. And we as a government will ensure that we have the guts to deal with these things, to make Grenada a better place, a cleaner place.
One of the initiatives that we have embarked on is cleaning up the port highway. Right? We have a plan in place. Both of us, we sat down and we put together a plan where opposite the pan house, we can construct a building that can house the people who are vending right now on the side of the road. Right? And it will be a 2-story building, and we can have people who sell food and so, because right now they are selling food with no toilet facilities, no water, and that is dangerous. Right? So, and again, we admire them because they are not begging, they are trying to earn a living. So as a government, it is our duty to see what we can do to assist them. And so we want to do a 2-story building that can house them, and we can free up the side of the road for parking.
All right. And Ms. Hutchinson, that was Mr. Andy Williams, MP for the town of St. George and Minister responsible for MIT, Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation. I want you to react to the second part of his statement first, where he said, he acknowledges that you are making an honest living. All of you are making an honest living. There is no no qualms there, but then he goes on to make some other statements, which I'm sure you disagree with.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened between November or 6 months and then this year. I don't know, something changed, but whatever changed did not include the vendors or the welfare of our livelihood. It did not include us.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Now, did you want me to? Is this my wrap up?
Yes, this is your wrap up, and in wrapping up, suggestions to the administration. I believe this administration, its mantra is, hearing from the people in respect of suggestions for improving the material conditions of the people on the ground. So it is your lived experience as vendors. You are the ones that are there every day. The policymakers are not on the ground. Yes, right. And so where do we go from here?
If they don't have the heart of the people, we're going nowhere. So it wouldn't make sense for me to say, what are we going to do for the people? They let us know what they're going to do for us. They already let us know that. But if you want to hear my thoughts, my non-engineering thoughts on how this could be done. Okay, so here are my thoughts. So I think that if they move us back, first correct the easement issue or the issue with the sewage, correct that first. Then move us back 10 feet into Tantine, and that first part of it, move us back. Then you will have the road in front of us for the truck drivers to still park. Make us uniform where everybody has the same amount of space. Give us restrooms and water and electricity, and no what do you call nepotism, where some people get lights and some people don't. Some people get water and some people don't, depending on who you know inside. So that's the building, that's the structure, and then that's the space. Then when they have events in the canteen field, include us into that. Don't put a fence to block us off so people can't come and buy from us. Include us in this program, in the youth and sports, and in the schools. Include us. Have us pay a fee so that our fee can go into their budget or go into their pocket. Help us donate to the cause. Don't cut us off and to say we don't want you to be a part of it. We want to keep our money. We want to just make money off of the people that come. We don't want you all to make the money. So that's my thoughts. I don't know any other way that they could the building that they're talking about putting on the corner. I would welcome it, but it's very small, and each one of us have different I guess the way we do our food vending. You have Sandra has roti, she needs some space. You have Brian, he does fish, he needs space. Then it goes down, and you have Ron, his space is real big. He needs space. We need space to do things. Then my space. I like the space because sometimes the guys used to play dominoes, and when there's events, people like to dance and lime over there by me. And down the road, and we need ample space. But if we can't get the space, like I said, I'm okay with that cubicle, because at least you're saying I'm going to keep you employed, and I'm not.
Yeah. And it's about this administration talks about the hand up mentality and not the hand out mentality. You're not looking for handouts, I'm sure.
We're not looking. I didn't get a loan through Ariza, any bank. It came out of my pocket. I didn't get a grant. I didn't ask for money. I did this all on my own. The thousands of dollars I spent for my shop and the investment, nobody gave me.
But Ms. Hutchinson, I also think, and I'm not putting this on you, would you agree that perhaps the process by which you got approval to vend was a bit mysterious and just confusing and convoluted? You had to go to a minister here, then a minister would write a letter for you to give to somebody else. Talk about that process. Do you concede that it was a bit convoluted in how the approval was given in the first place?
I mean, it's like the accountability, the protocol, the guidelines, there's none. So it's like, if you don't ask, nobody will tell you. So I had to go in and I had to ask different people, what do I need? Do I need to go here? Or do I need to talk to this person? Or what do I do? I don't even know what the roadmap is. I'm just going by what I think I need to do until somebody tell me that's incorrect. They come to the shop and say, you need to do this, this, this. Then I would comply, but nobody did. I had to take my own initiative to do the right thing.
But you also went to the member of parliament for the town of St. George. I mean, he's not only an MP, but he's also a lawyer. Granted, he's a criminal lawyer, so I'm not sure if that is also within his bailiwick around public administration laws. But he also served in the cabinet. So I'm just trying to understand. At least I'm just trying to go back to peel those layers back to understand how we got here. You know what I mean?
There was no roadmap. There's no roadmap to how to do it.
Ms. Hutchinson, I do wish you the best. I really wish you the best. And the other vendors is not only you, it's other vendors who've been there for a long time, that has been a fixture of the area. So thank you.
I would like to mention one last thing.
Sure, absolutely.
When you cause unemployment, you cause crime. You cause the crime statistics to go up. When you create unemployment, I will be unemployed and I'll figure out how to make money for myself online, or I don't know, I'll figure out something. But the youth that are working, I don't know what they're going to do, but that would cause a problem. So if you say you're trying to keep the crime down and you're trying to make employment, that's adding to the problem.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about vendors who also provide for families as well. It's not only them, but there is an entire group of people that they're providing for. I think we lost Ms. Hutchinson there. But viewers and listeners, we were in conversation with Sharon Hutchinson. Sharon Hutchinson, one of the vendors who will be impacted by the Planning and Development Authority's demolition drive down there at the Port Highway. And this is all part of the rubric of the administration in respect of its visual transformation initiative. Of course, that plan is part of that visual transformation initiative as articulated by the minister with responsible for MIT, the Honorable Andy Williams. I perhaps also misspoke when I teed up his clip by saying that he was the Member of Parliament for the town of St. George. That was a misspeak. Of course, he is the Member of Parliament for the constituency of South St. George. Ms. Hutchinson, we lost you there for a second, but over to you. You got cut off by the internet. Go ahead. Final comments.
So I actually ended with just being aware that when you're trying to improve employment and you cause unemployment, you're adding to the bottom line of crime.
All right, Ms. Hutchinson, thank you so much, and keep aging gracefully. That fountain of youth. I mean, when I saw you on
TV, right? I should sell it.
You definitely need to you definitely need to sell that. You are going to be a black female millionaire with that fountain of youth, that serum that you have. So beautiful there. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for appearing on the Bub Report.
And thank you for your time.
Absolutely, you're most welcome. Viewers and listeners, Ms. Sharon Hutchinson, one of the vendors down there at the Port Highway, who, again, as I indicated before, would be impacted by the demolition drive that's currently being undertaken by the Planning and Development Authority. With all things being equal, of course, these vendors do have a right to due process. They can appeal the decision of the Planning and Development Authority by way of the Magistrates Court. That is set out in the Physical Planning Act. And we are going to see and continue to watch the space to see how that unfolds. So on behalf of my hardworking producers, one of which I can name publicly, Mr. Rian Charles, thank you all for, again, continuing to watch the Bub Report and following us every week. If you have not subscribed on our YouTube channel, please do so. We also welcome our viewers who are continuing to join us on the Twitter platform. Well, it's now called X, but X formerly known as Twitter. We thank our viewers there as well. And please remember to share this program so that a wider audience can also partake in this conversation via the social media sites. So on behalf, again, of the producers, I'm your humble host, Dr. Kellen Bub, wishing everyone a pleasant week. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Listeners, I see Michael already smiling. He anticipates what I would say. My good friend.
Yeah, and I put my head on a block and I offer Mr. Brother Bishop the scalpel to cut it off.
The political leader has said several times up to last night that is not a reflection of her personal views or the views of the party. And you understand, George, how elections at the party level work.
So, Dr. Pei, do you have ties? Do you have ties to the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Pei? Or rather, were you commissioned by the NDC
to do that information? Because it seems interesting that a lot of your advice is very consistent with what was said. Brilliant.
And Claudette, good luck with everything.
You too, man. May the best candidate win in the town of St. George.
But kill on.
Yes.
You is a tongue man too, so stop at that. Tell everybody you are a tongue man too.
We are a people who have always aspired for more, who always aspired to do better, who've always accepted that not because your mother didn't go to secondary school, you should go. It has always been the other way around. You should aspire.
You've been there for a long time. Want to be Queen of St. Andrews.
But yet the problems around you, you're not seeing. You can pray yourself out of the problems in St. Andrews.
Some persons were getting pension after 2 terms in office, right? And the persons that work for 26 years plus not getting anything. It's just unfair.
God is good, and God looks after me. You know, I'm not just, my wife is no longer here, so both herself and the father up there are looking after me very, very well indeed.
Not a few people that you pick up by the side of the road to run an election, to run in an election. These are not people that you mustered up and you pulled together a few months before you think an election is going to call, and you say, we want to win an election, so let's come together.